In this video tutorial, we're going to take a first look at using the if function. In this particular spreadsheet, we're looking at calculating the commission for different salespeople. If their commission is $10,000 or more, they will get 5% of their monthly sales as their commission. If they sold less than $10,000, they will get 3% of their monthly sales. So to get started, I'm going to put my cursor in the commission box for the first salesperson. And what I can do is I can either just start typing equal if parentheses and continue on, or if you prefer, you can go to the Formulas tab. Very first thing it has is called the Insert Function button. And if you click that, you can type a brief description of what you want to do. So I'm going to search for the if, and then I'm going to hit go. And notice the function that comes up is if. So all I do is click on it. It gives me an example of how it is written and what it does. And then I click OK. Once I click OK, it gives me the logical test where I can type in my comparison information, my value, what to do if it's true, and what I want it to do if it's false. So all I have to do is type, and it will fill in the if function for me. In the logical test box, I can either type the cell address B5 is greater than or equal to 10,000, or I can just click here and then click back next to B5 and put greater than or equal to 10,000. And one thing to be careful of, do not put a comma in that 10,000, because the spreadsheet program knows that when it sees the first comma, it's moving on to the true value. So don't use commas in your numbers. The value, if it's true, well, if it's true, I want to take 5% times the monthly sales. So my 5%, again, I can either type the D1 or I can just click here. I want to take D1 times whatever the monthly sales happens to be, if it's true and it's greater than or equal to $10,000. If it is not true, I'm only going to give them 3%. So I will take this cell, which is D2, and then I type the times symbol, the asterisk, and the monthly sales again. So let's look at it. Logical test is B5 is greater than or equal to 10,000. What to do if it's true? I'm going to take D1 times the monthly sales. If it's not true, I'm going to take D2, which is the 3%, times the monthly sales. Now before we end, do any of these need to be absolute cell locations, meaning that when we copy this function down to the other salespeople, should any of these references, cell references, should they stay the same? B5 definitely needs to change to B6 for Mary and B7 for Alfred. But the D1 and the D2 need to stay the same. So at this point, I'm going to pop in, and you could have done this later too, but I'm going to pop them in right here. I always like to ask myself at this point, does anything need to stay the same? So let's see what happens. Let's hit OK. And you can multiply that out and see if actually 10,519 times 5% actually does come up to that amount. Now let's copy it down, and remember, just use that little fill handle in the corner, that little dot there, and you'll get the small plus sign. Click and drag it down. And again, I like to do 3 tests because there's really three different ways this could go. It could either be above 10,000, it could be exactly 10,000, or it could be under 10,000. And I like to make sure all different facets of that if statement work. So if you go through and use a calculator or something, you can take 8,500 times 3% and you will get $255. Okay, that is how you use the if function. Go ahead and try the assignments, but if you get stuck, please let me know. I'm here to help.